Happy New Year, Albuquerque, and welcome back to That Saturday Show, brought to you by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice, your voice and your advocate for social justice. We want to begin by offering our sincere thanks to each and every one of you for your loyal viewership last year, and we promise to never disappoint you with our programming. 2021 proved to be a very interesting year for all of us, and I am sure that that includes you. We started last year recording our very first show on January 6th, which made for some interesting discussions, and that event has just lingered on in our lives for the entire year. After successfully completing our first year of continuous programming, we are all set to begin year two with the same high level of commitment to inform you, to entertain you, and to make us all smarter at the end of the day. We start this year with some exciting announcements. That Saturday show has openings for 4 students as interns to join our team and learn about TV production. These internships will offer a small weekly stipend, and the program will run for a minimum of 6 months. You will be afforded the chance to learn camera operations, soundboard functions, and even editing. In addition, you will be able to learn production and booking, as well as script writing. Contact the Peace and Justice Center at 505-268-9557 for more information, but do that no later than January 17th to sign up. January 22nd marks the anniversary of the International Treaty to End Nuclear Proliferation, and yet our own government, our own so-called progressive government, is violating that treaty by building a new class of nuclear weapons. Los Alamos Labs, home of the original atomic bombs that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, is being retrofitted to build this new class of nuclear weapons. Vets for Peace, Santa Fe, and several other organizations have come together, and we invite you to join us all at Los Alamos on the 22nd to let them know that the whole world is watching and we won't stand for it. For more details, contact the center, 505-268-9557 for more information. We have some hot topics for discussion today, including an update on COVID from an Albuquerque lens in particular, what is happening in Congress with those important bills, voting rights, Build Back Better, freedom to vote. We go on with bills that they've been promised and the shenanigans behind the scenes. All those things that are supposed to help us save democracy from this tide, this rising tide of evil coming from the Confederate Party. Yeah, I call them the Confederate Party. We're also going to be talking about what's going on with guns and racism in our public schools. Just before the holidays, before our break, we talked about it a little bit, and there's still a lot of movement, a lot of action that's taking place around that. And so we've got that folded into our panel discussion today as well. And yes, Good News News is back. And ending our show today, you're going to hear from a wonderful guitarist and vocalist who's joined our team here, and his name is Matt Johns, and he's got conscious music to share with you. But first, let me get this off my chest. January 6th just passed, and while investigations and congressional hearings continue to uncover facts about who was involved and how they were involved. Some interesting new statistics have been presented that should make us all very concerned. And this is of local interest. It seems that white evangelical Christians, with their twisted views of their religion, have been surveyed to prove the levels of endorsements of Agent Orange and the attempted coup from last year continue. Yeah, they've partnered with the Confederate Party. They've partnered with Agent Orange, and you know who that is. You know, the orange fascist himself. They've partnered. Surveys show that 78% of this group expressed racist beliefs aimed at black and brown people in this country. 27% of that same group fully supported the attempted coup. I think the numbers are higher than that. 82% fully believed that Trump, also known as Agent Orange, was robbed of the election and should be returned to the presidency. Is still beating that dead horse, that old lie that has created a lot of confusion in this country, I might add. So why is it so important to note this? Because right here in our own backyard, we have at least 2 and maybe even 3 of these white evangelical churches pushing their nonsense on our communities. And they wrap it all up in that nice little neat package that they want us to believe is religion. You need to be aware of who they are and just how dangerous and even unchristian they are. These are the same churches that tried to sue the state and sue the Albuquerque government over COVID safety requirements. And one of them is currently facing fines for endorsing political candidates. These are the churches that held packed services during the 2020 holiday season in violation of the public gathering restrictions that were a result of COVID and that were in place at that particular time. Wonder how many people got sick and died, probably, from packing themselves in these churches and being misled by these, well, we'll leave that alone. Anyway, these are the churches that oppose everything that our democratically elected government officials across the state and throughout Albuquerque continue to work for, that keep us safe and allow us to improve our lives. These are the churches that support the authoritarian agenda of the radical Confederate Party, formerly known as the Republicans, and fully endorse the evils of Agent Orange. These churches are called Calvary and Legacy. Remember those names. And they are a threat to democracy, to people of color, and a threat to goodness at its very core. As we remember the attempted coup on January 6, 2021, let us not forget the white evangelical cult that has partnered with the maggot crowd. Yeah, as I call them, the maggot crowd instead of MAGA. It's the maggot crowd to bring this country down. They're all in cahoots together. Their religion is hatred and fascism, and they smell like Mussolini's Italy in 1934 and Hitler's Germany in 1935. Those 2 horrible times in history were fueled, and don't forget this, you all, they were fueled by religion too. Stay woke, Albuquerque. All right, now that I've gotten all of that out of my system, let's go and get some good news from Hassani. Hassani, bring it on.
Hello, Albuquerque. My name is Hassani Olujimi, and I have a question for you. Are you tired of the same sad humdrum news? Well, I have the cure for you. I report nothing but good news. But I need you to do one thing with me, and that's get Goo for good news. You know, good news that uplifts and inspires you, the viewer. So come on, let's get Goo for good news. Happy Saturday. Thank you, and welcome to Good News News. Happy New Year and happy anniversary to That Saturday Show. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the team. Now, our first story is a true example of the healing power of music. You want to know more? Let's take a look.
Pandemic has created a lot of depression in everybody, but it's especially bad in teens and youth. We'd love to help these kids out.
Jim Gibbs has made it his mission to give free instruments to children experiencing depression through the nonprofit Pick with Austin, Detroit.
We try to bring awareness to this teen suicide and depression through music, through the gifting of guitars and other music instruments that we get donated from the community.
The organization was started in Austin, Texas by Jim's friend who lost his son to suicide in 2010.
This is a Rode acoustic guitar.
Now Jim is bringing Pick with Austin to Detroit, starting by donating 2 brand new guitars to the music therapy department here at DMC Children's Hospital.
We basically use it to help patients cope with hospitalization and just being at the hospital in general. It's really nice to have something that might be feeling a little bit normal. So we use live patient-preferred music.
For a teen to get a guitar or a drum set or a keyboard and be able to learn and get their mind off of the negative thoughts, we found that this actually helps.
Now, isn't that good news? Now, let's explore a little more from our friends at MSNBC, featuring a segment called The Bright Side. 3 inspiring short stories. Let's take a look.
Elliot Middleton fixing and donating cars to people in need.
I wake up with energy. I wake up with this drive to just do.
Thank you much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Tyler Nipper, who started his own charity to give shoes to kids in need. But at the same time, he and his family were homeless. Until David Copperfield saw our story and did something remarkable. He found them a home.
I love people who inspire other people. As a magician, that's my job, I think, is to create infinite possibilities.
And there was Enrique Rodriguez, a hospital worker who helps his patients through song.
And that's when I felt it. I'm called to step into rooms where there's anxiety and bring peace, joy, and love.
Now, isn't that good news? 3 stories of unselfishness and acts of love. It is with great respect. Good News would like to give our condolences to the family and friends of the great Betty White. She was an inspiration to me as a performer and entertainer. She will be missed, and I hope that my endeavors never let her down. I tried to find a quote that would be suitable for this moment. A lot of her quotes were racy and very funny, but I found one that seems to suit the mission and vision of Good News. It goes like this. I know it sounds corny, but I try to see the funny side and the upside, not the downside. Thank you, Betty White.
Continuing with our first program for 2022, we've got a lot to talk about today, and so we've put together what I think is a power-packed panel. To my far right is our director, Tom Dent. Welcome back, Tom.
Hi, Jim. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. And sitting with us is a former guest on this show and back to share some really important points of view, and that is our own Stacy Burleson. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I wanted to start by talking about COVID and what the responses are that are bubbling up here as we look at this new variant that, well, even we've got a new one now that came out, just yesterday from France. So, we can't decide whether it's coming from South Africa or Italy, and today it's France, and we don't know the impact. We don't know how it's going to affect us, affect our health, what kind of new restrictions are going to be put in place. We don't know any of this stuff, and we keep getting mixed messages about how we should prepare for it and respond to it. What do you all think about all this?
But there's rumors that the great medical heads at Walter Reed Hospital are coming up with a pill that's going to cure all the different variants. This is the same hospital that treated Agent Orange, so you got to take that with a little bit of grain of salt.
That's pretty
a
scary.
lot of bit of grain of salt.
That's pretty scary. Stacey,
Well,
what do
first
you
of all, I think we need to go back to where it started in China, the origin.
Yes.
And we need to figure out what it is that they did and how we can really treat this. I do not believe it comes from South Africa. I just believe that's just a narrative that they want to paint. I feel like the government has lost control of this virus, and it's just so much fear put out there that, I really don't know what it's going to take. We cannot vaccinate our way out of this. That's obvious, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not taking China's side, but they say that they kind of nipped the virus spreading in their country in the bud. They said they closed down the major ports, they shut down Wuhan, they made everybody wear a mask. According to their figures, only 5,000 people have died from COVID in China.
Well, considering the fact that that's such an ordered society and the government is so repressive, it's probably a lot easier for them to shake their finger in people's faces and say, you will isolate, you will wear a mask, you will get vaccinated, and people have to do it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for repressed people to have to follow orders than divided people in this country, turning it into a political issue instead of a health and safety issue.
Exactly.
Well, it's already too late for that. It's already been politicized, so we're already past that, and so nobody trusts the FDA or the CDC or, nobody trusts the shot. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, and then when it comes to African American community, like, we don't trust anything.
That's
they say,
right.
So.
See, I've got this theory, and I haven't shared this with anybody. I was just waiting for tonight to talk about this. Last year, more than 150,000 people that died from COVID were all unvaccinated. 150,000 just in this country.
I don't believe that.
Well, that's the reports. They said 150,000 unvaccinated people died from COVID last year. Now, we can take that number with a grain of salt, but I'm willing to bet you that new variants, new strains could very easily have mutated and come out of this country, but they'll never tell us that.
Yeah.
They'll never tell us.
Don't we lead the world in COVID hospitalizations and deaths anyway?
Exactly. We're number 20 for vaccinated, in the Western world. Number 20 for vaccinations, and you've got all these people out here, who have all these different theories about, what it is and what it isn't, and nobody's been able to get their heads around it. And even now, you get these mixed messages from CDC and from the FDA and from the federal government. Nobody can get on the same page in terms of what to do about it. And so if that doesn't do anything else, it just ratchets up the reasons for vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I think at first it comes all about, yourself. You just got to take care of yourself. I got the vaccine. I don't believe in it. I believe it's personal choice. I don't think it should be mandated on anyone when it comes to that. But, we also know that these numbers are not correct, right? So you go in the hospital for something else and die of a heart attack, but you test positive for COVID. They name it as a COVID.
They name it as a
COVID
cause.
That's
right?
one of the problems.
Yeah.
The numbers are not true. They are lying, right? And so, like you said, they have put so many fear into people. You look at the numbers now, we got 1 million people testing positive for COVID. Why are you in line to see if you're sick when you already know you're sick? The best thing for you to do is to stay home and quarantine like the people said, so some of this is just common sense knowledge that people just need to take, into account that they are just not doing.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Well, a lot of people right now are kind of acting like this almost never happened. If you watch TV, if you watch the national college games, the NFL and stuff like that, you'll see huge stadiums with people right next to each other without even a mask. And with the Omicron, they're saying like 93 to 98% of the people that have tested positive have not been vaccinated.
That is not true.
Well, I agree that probably isn't true,
is not
true to a lot of in a lot of different cases. Like you were saying, people that have heart attacks, people that have pre-existing conditions. If these hospitals are really crowded up, there's a whole bunch of people that can't get into hospitals to have the treatment they need. And also in America, like for instance, compared to China or Japan or something like that, I think more people that are exposed to this are more predisposed to have serious health problems and die to that, especially due to our lifestyle and our diet. Like they were saying in Sweden or some country like that, that the people that are dying from COVID compared to here is absolutely nothing. And then you look at in Great Britain, you look at their diet, and they eat a heck of a lot healthier than we do in the United States. And there's a lot of obesity, and there's a lot of diabetes, and a lot of predisposition. So I agree to a certain extent that you're probably right that a lot of these deaths are counted for other reasons. But I am married to a healthcare professional, and I get pounded in all the time that everybody needs to be vaccinated, and I agree with you. Everybody needs to stay home. People flying, I mean, right now we're in the countdown for Christmas and New Year's. And every time we see, my wife and I see this stuff on TV, we're going like, just wait until 12 days from now. The numbers are going to shoot up.
Well, that's because everybody's getting tested.
Yeah.
Duh. They were sick before Christmas came. They were sick before, Thanksgiving came. This is just them causing people to panic. And so when you got people, you can see it on the news, they're standing in line trying to get tests. They can stand in line, they test positive, but they've been at home. So why not go ahead? So that's just putting more fear in people also. And then, so how many people do you know that are vaccinated that has got COVID? I know plenty of people, you know what I mean? So it's not, the shot is not keeping you from getting COVID, it's giving it to you. That's exactly what it's doing, and it's making people sick. I feel like that the reason why it's spreading is because too many people are vaccinated, and that's why it's spreading. That's the way I see it. So I feel like that at this point, we need to just start taking care of ourselves and just move on. People who are vaccinated, people who want to be vaccinated are vaccinated, right? And so if we don't at some point in time start to move on with life, we will always be living in fear. Nobody's going to want to go back to work. Nobody's going to want to do, anything in life, so.
Well, I agree that the fear factor shouldn't be out there. And aside from my wife, maybe it's how I was raised and how old I am. But, when we were little, we don't even remember getting the polio vaccine, but we all did, and it seemed to clear up the problem. What was the thing that they did with the sugar cube? Was that smallpox or measles or something like that?
That was polio too.
Yeah.
For kids for children who were adverse to needles, because
And it was in a processed sugar cube. We started getting us all addicted to processed sugar.
Exactly, and that
which led to horrible health problems.
So that's how we got hooked on sugar.
That and Coca-Cola.
It's all part of a plan.
Yeah.
It's all part of a bigger plan.
Yeah,
it sure
it's all
is.
part of the plan,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. My oldest nephew got his first shot, and then a week later was in hospital for over a month.
Yeah.
It gives
So
it to you.
So you raise a pretty
Well,
valid
it
point
affects
that we need to look at.
It's really the right now. It is it is the pandemic of the vaccinated, because the people who are vaccinated, you see, it depends on what news you watch it too and what part of the world you in. You know what I mean? And there are plenty. I mean, you can see it. You can see the people on The View. You know what I mean? You can see this person getting sick. You can see that person getting sick. I know somebody in the hospital right now, fully vaccinated and boosted. In the hospital, been in there already 2 weeks, got it still. So everybody I know that is getting sick is fully vaccinated with the booster shot. And that is a problem. It's just like the flu. They put it in you. So it has nothing to do with the people being unvaccinated. You know what I'm saying? It's the people that, like, if I get vaccinated, I shouldn't be getting sick at all. I don't want to even know. I don't care if you're vaccinated or not. If I'm vaccinated and boosted, doesn't matter what you are, because I'm supposed to be protected. Now, to constantly tell me I need a booster and a booster, no, we're tired of that. We are tired of that. We don't want to hear that no more.
Yeah, I've got one obligation, and that is I've gotten all my shots, but I think I've got one obligation, and that is to keep myself safe and keep others safe as well. And you only do that by quarantining yourself. Stay your ass at home, y'all.
Well, I agree with you about the hospitalizations and the bad reporting. Supposedly the hospitals are so overwhelmed that nobody can get in there to actually see if these reports are true or not. And another factor is a race factor. Medically, Native Americans, black people, white people, we all have different medical makeups, and we're affected by like the virus differently than other people. Like with what is it, T cell or sickle cell? I mean, you can see that the black anatomy has differences than the white anatomy, and the vaccine will affect people differently.
Our immune systems respond differently.
It made my hair fall out.
See?
Yeah.
You see
Like
that?
literally, it made my hair fall out, and I was pretty upset about it. It's not that, you know, I don't care for that shot or whatever, and I don't believe that it's going to kill me. But the fact that I was mandated to do it is my problem. That's why we have a constitution and we have rights.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the military, and even though I kind of despise the military and very glad I'm out, but you know, we had the lineup for the C shot, and the C shot was 6 to 8 different shots and one big old machine gun type thing in your arm, and you had to stand in attention and hopefully not pass out from that shot. And I've heard about people that served in both theaters in World War II. This one guy had to take a series of shots for being in Germany, and then he was assigned to the Pacific and have to take another series of shots there, and that's crazy.
Yeah, there's just not enough information out here, you know, and we've seen too many examples.
Too many different changing stories.
Too many examples of changes and different effects on people, you know, at different levels of immunization or not immunization out here, and that is.
Get the shot, don't get the shot, get the shot,
what do
don't
you
get the shot.
what do you do? And the information is so it's all over the map. I don't even know if they know what to do with the data that they're collecting.
At this point, I don't even know why it matters. I mean, we had over 800,000 people die of opioid overdose, fentanyl. So why aren't we talking about that?
Exactly.
We shouldn't be talking about COVID anymore.
There you go.
You know, so
There's thousands of people that are committing suicide every day.
right.
That's right.
But
And
the
a lot
COVID
of them
thing
are
is about
committing
fear
suicide
control.
because of fear and hopelessness for these lockdowns.
Yeah, it's all about fear control. We need to move past it. Like I said, we got people dying, kids dying. You know, we got so much going on. Like I said, we had 800,000 people die of fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know, we had 300 die of COVID. So we had 500,000 more people die, and we ain't even talking about that.
That's
So
right.
why is that not? Because
That's
this has become political, and you know, it's about time somebody call it out. You know.
Well, when we get into our next subject about Congress and voting rights and stuff like that, I'm sort of a conspiracy theorist, but you know, I leave it at certain spots. But you know, it almost makes you think that all this stuff is going on to keep people in their homes, keep them fearful, sort of give up hope, and this year and you know, we just had a mayoral election. We barely had anybody out to the polls.
Exactly.
In an odd number year, you know, nobody shows up to the poll. In 22 or 2 years after the presidential election, a lot of people don't show up to the polls. And now you have all this suppression of voting rights and all these state legislatures and the filibuster and not getting the National Voting Rights Act through. You know,
I mean, all you got to do
it
is
almost makes you think.
But when it comes to voting, all you got to do is get your ID, go down there and vote, right?
Well,
They're standing in line to get tested for COVID.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't want to talk about that because I feel like that, you know, to say that African Americans can't get an ID or they can't get down there to vote, I think, you know, we're tired of that. Like, we're tired of them using us as example to try to, pass this bill or their agenda, whatever they're trying to do, to get in here to be able to get anybody to be able to vote who's not supposed to be voting, whatever they're trying to do. Like, no, we're not going for that. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to start picking another group of people to start using, because the African American community, we are tired, right? And so like what they're doing right now, in my eyes, we have a dictator in the White House. And so we are tired of this dictatorship. As a black community, we need somebody that's in there that's going to stand out for us.
Well, I don't think it matters who the president is with these neo.
Well, I think it does matter when you say if you're not black, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. So I think it does matter.
Okay. Well, I was going to say these neoliberals that seem to be locked together and all have the same agenda. But like Jim was talking before about, pre-Hitler Germany, it's almost the same thing. They'll set somebody up as a scapegoat and go after them. And in Texas and in Georgia and what's in front of the Supreme Court right now, Roe versus Wade, robbing women of their reproductive rights and stuff like that. It's sort of like the saying, first they came for the Jews, then they came for the, this group, and they came for the trans, the gay, and then.
But then that's the thing, though. Yeah. But see, when they're explaining all this, and see, when you say reproductive rights, you're talking about abortion. When I think about reproductive rights, I think about health care, about getting those mammograms. That's what most people, when they went, well, excuse me, maybe not you, but when most people say reproductive rights, in Europe, they are talking about abortion. When I think about reproductive rights, I think about, we have so many black women dying of childbirth. We have so many maybe Native American women dying of childbirth.
Exactly.
And we have people, in prison not getting the care that they need. We got women on the street. That's what I think about reproductive rights. And so, but when people are in Congress or in state fighting for it, they're fighting for abortion. So they have put this together. And see, they need to separate it and clarify exactly what they're talking about.
You see, that's those white evangelicals I was talking about.
It becomes a dog whistle. When I talk about women's reproductive rights, I'm talking about women's control of their own body in any aspect.
Yeah, and that's really important. But what's happened is the enemy has total control of the messages, of the messaging. And those folks who are supposedly in power now can't seem to get their heads wrapped around what they need to say or do in order to counter that messaging. Democrats have never really been very good at that. No. And they really spend too much time trying to prove to people that they're much better, so they're not going to struggle and respond on a level that people will really understand. And that's going to be effective, and that's what we get out here. So we let them define reproductive rights as abortion, okay, and we don't counter that. We let them define critical race theory, as teaching Black history to our kids, and we let them get away with it, and we don't respond. Those are the kinds of things that we're fighting against out here all the time. And somebody has got to get a single message out and repeat that message over and over again, just like the Confederate Party does. We've got to get to that point where that's the only way you counter the damage that they do, because they've got us out here either completely confused, or not believing anything at all. And there goes everything. So all right, so to go back to COVID, we get to the point where we're COVID weary, we're tired, we're afraid, we don't come out. We don't come out to vote, we don't go to work, we don't communicate with one another. And what happens? The Confederates, because the Civil War, and I use that term because the Civil War never ended. It never ended in this country. And that's why we've got this madness out here.
And part of their agenda is the old Ayn Rand agenda, which is selfishness, individualism, and isolation. And you go into coffee shops and stuff like that, and whether they know it or not, absolutely, almost maybe one couple out of 20 are talking. The rest are on their iPads or computers or on their phones, completely separated. They may be talking to each other right across the room, and they don't even know it.
They don't even know it, right.
And I think I heard some kind of poll that said something like, oh, well, there's this very small percent of people, progressives or whatever, that are plugged in the news and know what's going on. But there's probably 30% that get bits and pieces and think they're informed. There's like 30% that go along with the Confederate and Trump mega church baloney. I know, I'm not gonna say
I don't
it.
think it's baloney though. I don't think it's baloney.
And there's 40% that just sit there and don't know what's going on and think everything will be all right. It's kind of like this movie that everybody's watching, Don't Look Up.
Well, let me ask you guys this. So I know, because I see you guys don't like, Donald Trump, right? So, but if I say as a black woman, right, I say, okay, people say Trump, oh, he's racist, he's this. Okay, show me. I'm talking about, I'm a black woman. Show me where he has been racist against black people. I ain't talking about nobody else. I'm talking about my people.
Okay, well,
and then I'll go to Joe Biden.
Okay, well,
and I'll go video after video, policy, crime bill. I can name it.
Well, we can start as far back as the 80s.
He and his father.
I'm talking about since he was the president of the United States. What did he do that was racist against black people when he was in office?
You want to take that one?
Well, I was going to go back even further to the 60s and early 70s when his father was training him to become a slum landlord in New York, and they had specific causes that they would not rent to black people. Okay. And the mentor of all those people, what was his name? Roy Cohn. Mm-hmm. He was assistant to Eugene McCarthy in the Red Scare.
That's right.
And he was a crazy man. He was completely racist.
Well, he started out with housing discrimination against blacks, and that attitude, that belief has just carried forward ever since then. Trump cut off money to HBCUs in this country when he was president.
Really?
He cut money. Yeah, he cut money off that had to be replaced when Biden came in. He cut money off. What did he do? He did all kinds of things to eliminate possibilities of blacks getting employment at any level.
And he tried to gut. He had people in there specifically to gut government services. Betsy DeVos was in there to destroy education. A black person, what's his name? The brain surgeon, whatever.
Oh, that idiot.
Yeah, he was the head of Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson, and he destroyed that department.
And wanted to increase rent in public housing for folks at a time when you've got COVID and everything else. He wanted to raise the rents of people living in public housing. That was done on Trump's watch.
And anybody from other countries that that were poor and destitute and had people of color, he called them shithole countries, and how
they were shithole countries. He talked about Baltimore, shithole.
No,
you talked about
countries, not cities.
Okay, he talked about shithole countries. If they're in poverty, they are shithole. If their people are suffering and nobody's doing nothing about it, they're shitholes. He also talked about, I think, what was it, Baltimore? What was it? What's his name? Was it Baltimore? The guy that just passed away. It's a shithole. He represented that district for how long? And when you look at that, and when you take the black community and you look at what they're going through, what they're suffering, how bad it is, all the murders, all the poverty, it's a shithole. And so it wasn't a lie. New Mexico.
So all of the politicians that get into office do the same thing when it comes to us. They all take us for granted. Even after he called out Baltimore locally, what did he do? He did nothing for Baltimore.
They didn't want his help, but my thing is that...
And look what's going on with inequality right now. I don't mean racial or anything like that, but I mean economic. I mean, look at these 3 to 5 billionaires, trillionaires. What their income has gone up like 400% since COVID started.
That's right.
And what, three or four of these billionaires have more money than the entire U.S. economy.
Are you talking about like Pfizer and Moderna and all
No,
those?
I'm talking about Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, those type of
Well,
people.
what about Pfizer and Moderna
I
and
know,
all those
they-
that are making those?
I
But
know,
my
they're
thing,
they're
but let me
becoming
get back
trillionaires
to
too.
let me get back to this though. So with Trump, so I disagree with you about cutting the HBCUs, and you can show me, and I'll send you an
I'll
article
be glad
because
to
he
show you the
funded it.
numbers.
Also, and also he made the opportunity zones. I don't know if you know what those are,
I do.
but he made those, and so those were, were for Black people. Also, he
That
made
was a
those.
repeat of the Nixon
He,
playbook.
whatever he did,
Right.
he did it. He did it for us. So then, whatever he did in the past, okay, so let's go to Joe Biden, right? He made the crime bill that locked up more African American, right? You know that, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
then,
I know about
wait,
Kamala Harris's
let's go to
history in
her. Let's
California.
go to her also. She also did the same thing, right? And so they did all that. And so there's video after video where he said he didn't want his kids running around in the jungle, with Black kids. We can't release. So are we supposed to overlook all that? No, we're not gonna. And then
No,
wait a minute.
I agree with
and
you.
then wait a minute. Then he gets up and say, if you're not Black, then if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. He was supposed to. We have yet to get a hate bill. Yeah, we didn't get it during Trump, right? But we got an Asian bill. All of a sudden, we got an Asian bill. Why? Because Kamala Harris is so part Asian. All he did was brought her in office and use us for our votes. They do it year after year.
Right.
The Democrat Party has did nothing but destroy the Black community. Joe Biden is a racist. It's about time that we stand up and quit acting like that this man is not a racist, because he does not have the Black community best interest at heart.
Well,
and
this
you guys know it.
This is why I go back to what Tom said, and that is about the presidency. When you really boil everything down, the president is just a mouthpiece. It's just a mouthpiece. Proven. Now I'll tell you who proved it. Barack Obama. Barack Obama proved that the presidency is a mouthpiece for the corporate interests in this country.
Exactly.
People don't have a voice in this country. People, no matter who the president is. The tragedy of a Donald Trump is that he gave rise to all the hatred that had been, it already always existed, but he gave rise to all that hatred coming to the surface. The Proud Boys, all the militias running around places and carrying on. How many police murders of innocent civilians happened? They always happened, but how many of them happened since 2016?
How many happened under Barack Obama?
But not nearly as many.
No. Yes,
Not-
way more.
Not
You better-
nearly as many.
Oh,
as,
you better look it up. Way
not-
more.
I will. I looked up.
More than Barack
but Not
Obama.
nearly as many.
But
as,
let me ask you this,
as,
Mr. Harvey.
As Donald Trump.
Okay, what about all the businesses that got burned down when these people were out there riding the streets, and all these Democrats were sitting up here, defund the police, defund the police? Let me tell you what that's going to do, Mr. Harvey, to the Black community. Now they're calling for the feds to come in.
Well,
now we want feds. Now
Well,
now you think
maybe
that they've
I-
been
maybe
killing
I'm
them?
looking at different sources, but
They've been killing them?
We're not. Yeah.
I saw people in the Black community saying defund the police.
Yeah.
And shut down the prisons.
I'm talking
And
about the
and-
politicians. I'm talking
Okay,
about the
well-
people that had the voices that were, on these platforms that were. Of course, the Black people gonna say defund the police. Of course, I don't
Well,
really like the
lot
police.
a lot of these
you know?
a lot of these fires and burnings were set up by instigators and plants of the police. And there was looting here and there by Black communities and criminal groups, but a lot of people you'd see behind the cops that were set off by the cops to throw bricks and set fires.
I can tell you from personal experience. In 1967, I was supposed to be mysteriously shot and killed in Chicago. And it was 2 undercover policemen who dragged me out of the park where we were having a rally and explained all that to me. And it was all instigated by the police. So they've been playing this game for a long time. And I might add that the police were under a Democratic administration in Chicago. So I mean,
They still are.
They still are. But
Yeah.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. And Black people in particular have historically been pawns of both political parties in this country, and that will not change until we exercise some independence.
Exactly.
And that's what it's going to take, is us exercising some independence.
that's what I
When
am,
we vote
independent.
with our feet, people will come back and take notice of who we are. But neither party has our best interests at heart, and they will take advantage of us as long as we allow that to happen. You know. But now let's look. So that brings me to looking. I mean, we've got about maybe 10 minutes left here, but let's look at what's happening with the major bills in Congress, and who's playing the biggest games. Democrats are playing the biggest games. So you can't see the John Lewis voting rights bill. You can't see the Build Back Better legislation passed. You can't see the Freedom to Act bill passed. And who's holding all that up? You know, who's holding it up? It's the old Democrats, the old blue dog Democrats, who are really nothing more than Confederates themselves, you know, who are holding everything up with the old racist filibuster policies. So you can't even get
the Electoral College.
And the Electoral. You can't get anything to the floor.
The Electoral College is not racist. Oh my God, how is that racist?
No.
You gotta have that.
It was set up by white slavers in the Constitution.
You gotta have that. In the Constitution,
you don't have to have that. You do not have to have the Electoral College.
But I'll tell you, I don't.
We're not about to let this happen.
We gotta have another discussion.
Oh no, we're not about to let the Democrats think they about to do this. They ain't about to change the rules.
We have got to come back and have another discussion about the Electoral College because it needs to be fixed.
I don't care about. I don't care
According to who?
According to the Democrats
the
or
blue people
Republicans.
saying it.
No, it needs to be fixed.
Who's gonna fix it?
Even from where? Oh, well, that's the question.
We need to fix it.
Who is we? The people.
The grassroots.
But if a certain
who don't have a voice
blue
at all.
people, right? Because if the red people don't agree with the blue people, it ain't going to work. So why are we fixing something that our founding fathers and all them made? We don't have a right to do that.
There's us and them. It's a war. It's not a multi-party system. It's not representative of the people.
Keep talking.
Well, we need to get rid of the Electoral College.
No, we need to get rid of all those people that's been in the White House way too long because they are out of touch with reality.
That's the problem.
Well, you know, Joe Biden says that he was great in reaching across the aisle, but a lot of the Republicans he worked with had racist ideas too, like Robert Byrd and stuff like that. Biden, they just passed. He just signed this massive new defense bill.
Yes. $768 billion to buy more weaponry in this country.
After he left
and
half
develop
of it in Afghanistan.
more nuclear weapons in Los Alamos.
He left
half
all
of it in
those
Afghanistan.
weapons in Afghanistan.
I mean, come on, you guys. Everybody knows.
He voted for the Iraq War.
Everybody knows that Joe Biden is not running this country.
No, we know
he has Alzheimer's. And you can see it.
Well, that doesn't matter.
It does matter when he's the leader of the world.
I don't believe he has. Well, I don't care, and I really don't care about Joe Biden. I would have rather voted for Bernie Sanders. The only reason I voted for Joe Biden is get Agent Orange the hell out of there.
No. We continue to be shortchanged.
And that's the problem right there.
We continue to be shortchanged.
Ever since this man been in office, have you been to the gas pump? Like, have you been in the grocery store? And it was not like this during the Orange Man time.
I'm not going to blame the gas pump.
I'm blaming everything on him because he cut down the pipelines.
That's
everything
OPEC.
is him. No, but he did what he has something to do with it. Everything that has happened because of him.
The misery.
How long has Biden been in office? I'm not defending him. Not too long. Trump was. It felt like he was there for 20 years and we never got out of there.
When Trump was in office, everything was all right in my life and everybody that I know.
No.
I'm being serious.
Everything got worse.
Not for me. Not for the people that I know.
Look at the Clean Air Act. Look at the Environmental Department.
We got a racist man in office, and you want me to be okay with that?
There's no way. They're both racist.
No, you can't show me one video. You can't show me nothing. Show me something, and I can show you video. I can show you policy. I can show you everything he did. You know how many black men are in prison? How many kids don't have black fathers? I can't look past that, sir. I'm sorry.
Black men have been in prison for years.
Because of Joe Biden, because of the policy.
No. It built up over
the policy
many
that he made.
years.
Did he not make a crime bill that affected black men disproportionately?
Before the crime
he
bill.
said it. He made it.
But
I'm responsible.
Before the crime bill, LBJ, who everybody says did such wonderful things for us with the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Bill and public accommodations. At the same time he was doing all that, he was putting out the first crime bill in this country at this very same time. You know, so
I've never voted, Mr. Harvey, so don't think I'm a Republican. I've never voted.
They're all duplicitous.
Right, but
And
I'm
like I
talking
said,
about who's in there right now.
But right in the middle of it all is us, who continue to be pawns for both
Like we
political
were for him.
parties.
Exactly.
For both parties. We're pawns for both parties. And until we begin to exercise some independence and show them all that we mean business and that we're paying attention, we're going to continue to be. Okay, let's go on because we got about 6 minutes
Please.
left, and we're gonna invite you back. We're gonna have this.
You sure
this
about
is
that?
Oh yeah, I love this discussion.
Yeah.
So in the 5 minutes we've got left, we've got what have you heard about La Cueva High School and all this nonsense?
Oh man, I haven't heard too much, but one thing I do know is that the fact that the safety protocol that all the kids were put at risk. The person that's in charge, she didn't follow policy and procedures, so she should no longer be be in charge of those kids, right? So I mean, this is so serious that it has to start from the top. Heads have to roll.
That's right.
So either she violated and she didn't know the policy, and if she didn't know the policy, then that falls on her boss, right? So it trickles down, and I think that for one, they need to start there, and they need to replace her. And I'm not necessarily saying that she should be fired, not a teacher or whatever, but she definitely should not be in that position of authority anymore because she has lost the trust of the kids and of the parents, period. Because if someone drops me, an air gun, and it was a white kid, it was a black person, I'm gonna be looking at everybody white, so like back in the day, I may take something to school, you know what I mean? And it's, I'm gonna get you before you get me. So they don't really know what could happen, what could be lingering and, boiling over, and the fact that, they didn't do nothing about it. And, and this person who dropped it may feel like, yeah, I got the upper hand. Maybe because, I'm white, because they sent it to black people. So it was definitely racial. And when nothing has been done, you have kind of given power to a certain group of people, and that other group of people, you don't know what they're thinking.
I talked to a guy closer to my age who went through Albuquerque Public Schools, who shared with me. He says, all this is just boiling up to the surface now. He says, but when I was in school, he said the same stuff was going on then, and so. Finally, it's out, and hopefully we can do something about it, Tom.
I was a special ed teacher for about 3 years at Madison and Jefferson. I saw a lot of that going on, and a lot of most of it wasn't reported.
Yeah, that's the thing that's most disturbing. My big question in the minute or so we got left is, why did it take so long for the school superintendent to even respond?
Because these leaders that we have, the black leaders in the community, they are not doing what they need to be doing. They need to put the pressure on, and they need to demand, and they need to make this happen. So that lady should no longer even been in charge. We've had several meetings, and I don't know who the black leaders are. They haven't been at the table, and so that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're in positions that we're not. We can say whatever, but they can get in those spots, in those places. So that's one of the problems. And one thing that they need to do, Mr. Harvey, is in every school you go to, you may see somebody white, see somebody Native American, see somebody Spanish, in probably every school that you go to, but you're not going to see a black person. So they need to try to figure that out. They either need to get a black peer support worker in there, a black case worker, because everybody, you got to have somebody that look like you. If you just walk by them,
right.
Sometimes I don't see black people at all in New Mexico because it's just so few of us, and it could get depressing, right? Because you don't see that familiarity, you don't have that, lightness around, and so they need to think about that, and they could start there. It's not that hard, right? So that could be one step.
That's right.
And what about the representative of black students? There's like only one person. It's Arlen, right?
That's right. That's right.
I know. I've been trying to get a hold of the black student unions. I finally got a hold of one lady at Del Norte, but it's super hard. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, who's in charge of the black student? The person that I've been told, I've tried to call a few times, but so that's a problem. We don't know who are they, where are they? How can we locate the black kids that we do have? Where are they? We really have no place for them. We don't have a sense of community because Kirk is gone, Thomas Bell is gone, so it was taken.
We don't have black leadership in Albuquerque Public Schools at any level to speak of. So we can really never expect much of anything to happen. We've run out of time. But like I said, we're going to come back and finish this discussion because there's a lot more we can cover. Tom Dent, thank you so much. Stacy Burleson, thank you so much. And in this last few minutes here, big event coming up next week here in Albuquerque, the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, his birthday celebrations. And on the 17th will be the annual Martin Luther King breakfast and march. The march will start at University and Martin Luther King, and we'll continue on down and over the hill and end up over at Civic Plaza. So that's happening.
And the buses are free back to your cars.
And they'll bus you back because they don't want you having to climb that hill. So let's come on out for that. Thanks so much. Thank you to everyone for year 2. And let's hear now from Matt Johns. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt John. The song is The World Turned Upside Down. It was written by Leon Rosselson in the 70s and famously recorded by Billy Bragg. In 1649, to St. George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the law. They were the dispossessed, reclaiming what was theirs. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the lands in common and to make the waste grounds grow. This earth divided, we will make whole. So it will be a common treasury for all. We work, we eat together, we need no swords. We will not bow to the masters or pay rent to the lords. We are free men, though we are poor. You diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now. The sin of property we do disdain. No man has any right to buy or sell the earth for private gain. By theft and murder, they took the land. Now everywhere the walls spring up at their command. From the men of property, the orders came. They sent the hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim, tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, but still the vision lingers on. You poor take courage, you rich take care. This earth was made a common treasury for everyone to share. All things in common, all people one. We come in peace, the orders came to cut them down.
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday show.